Hey guys, it's Stan here, back with another video, and as you can see, I am currently in the middle of something right now, and I figured might as well shoot this intro and get this video started. This right here, this is my main system. This is a Zen 2 based Threadripper system, and it's got a Zenith 2 Extreme with a 3960X 24 core CPU. And I've had it for the last 2 years now. And now I think it's a good time for me to actually retire this computer because if you've seen some of the other videos on my channel, you know that I picked up a MacBook Pro, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and that's where I mainly do all my video rendering work and all sorts of stuff. So I don't need the Threadripper system anymore. And I've had a 5950X 16-core Ryzen AM3 CPU that's been sitting collecting dust. So long story short, I am downgrading from Threadripper to a 5950X CPU. So a Zen 3 based CPU. So why am I doing this? Well, I find with the desktop these days, I've been playing a lot more games and a lot less productivity work. Still some productivity, but a lot less than what I used to do. So the Zen 3 5950X is going to have a lot better single-threaded performance, and it's going to be a little bit better in games than the Zen 2 based Threadripper. If you're up to date on computer stuff, you also know that Alder Lake also launched, and today is the 5th, so finally actually launched yesterday. And believe me, I tried to get my hands on a 12900K and all that stuff, but since, I actually couldn't get my hands on a 12900K. I couldn't get my hands on a Maximus Z690 Extreme. I couldn't get my hands on the Dominator Platinum DDR5 RAM sticks. And the thought of having to get a brand new water block, because all my blocks are really, really old Intel blocks. So yeah, that's a lot of things I need to pick up. And considering I've got a 5950X just sitting around, I went ahead and bought the Crosshair 8 Extreme. So that's the X570 Extreme motherboard that came out a couple months back. It's kind of late in the cycle, but I figured I throw the 5950X in there, and then whenever the 6950X comes out in Q1 2020, I might pick that up, throw that in there. And then that kind of carries me through the end of 2022, which Zen 4 will be out, and we'll move on to the next platform. So, long story short, I guess I'm going to be skipping Alder Lake this time around, skipping Intel this time around. I really was looking forward to Alder Lake and gaming on that system, but PC shortage, PC component shortage, right? I just didn't want to wait 3 months for all the little pieces to come in and finally make the build. The motherboard was already in stock and ready to go, so I figured I'd pick that up, throw that in there, and get the system back up and running with a brand new CPU. So anyway, join me as I do this work, and I'll see you on the other side as I power this thing up. it's actually been almost a week and a half since I filmed that first part. And as you can see, everything is running just fine in the background, and I've even got a game up and running. And there's actually two things I want to cover before I end this video. One is the performance difference between going from Threadripper to a 5950X. I had, again, remember 24 core Threadripper going to just 16 cores, Zen 3 5950X. I'm running PBO, so performance boost overdrive and everything, and the performance, can you see? It's right off the screen actually. So I'm running Final Fantasy 14 right here, and I am pulling 85 or so frames per second. That is almost a 40 to 50 frame per second increase in a highly populated area. So going from Zen 2 Threadripper to Zen 3 mainstream gave me 40 frames per second on a near 4K ultra-wide display. So whoever's told you that 4K or high resolution gaming, CPU doesn't matter, well, in MMOs, CPU really does matter. And the single core performance, multi-threaded performance gaming, both the single core performance and the multiple threads in the game really does benefit from a better processor, as you can see here. So that's really, really good. A 40 FPS increase in these scenarios is totally worth the upgrade. The second thing I want to touch upon is the difficulty I had with memory compatibility. So from the old system on the Zenith 2 Extreme, I had 4 sticks of DDR4 3600 CL18s Dominator Platinums I've got right here, so 64 gigs, 16 gigs per DIMM. That ran fine with the Threadripper, but putting this in that system here, I just could not get it stable. It just would not boot. It would drop back down to, was it 2133, or the base frequency would not stay at 3600. It could boot at 3200, but then, this is a 3600 set. It just, that's kind of a waste, right? So I've only got 2 DIMMs in there running right now. So I've only got 32 gigs of 3600 CL18 Dominator Platinum DDR4s in there right now. I don't know if it's a Crosshair 8 Extreme BIOS issue, because sometimes BIOS instability, can give you trouble like that. Or if it's a 5950X, my CPU just cannot handle 64 gigs of 3600 megahertz memory. I just don't know. So I do know that this set right here is not on ASUS's QVL motherboard list. The 4x16 gigs for 64 gigabytes of memory is only rated for 3200 megahertz on the Dominator Platinums. I don't know, right? So that's something I'll need to follow up on. Regardless, 32 gigs is plenty. Everything is working fine, especially for gaming. Like I said, I'm not going to be using this system for productivity as much anymore, so 64 gigs is kind of overkill for gaming. That's all right. That is just my experience and the little update that I've got for my system. Everything was good. Hopefully the only update I'll have to do is to drop in that 6900X or 6950X whenever that comes out in Q1, and then hopefully that gets me to the end of Q4 2022 when Zen 4 comes out. So that's going to be a whole new upgrade. But then again, that's a whole year from now. Anyway, hopefully you guys like this video. Make sure to hit that like button if you do, and I'll see you guys in the next one.